Hello D&D people of the internet, it's me Max from Max with Miniature back with another video. And in today's video, it's part 2 of my not meant to be 2-part series on how to make a character in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, because the last video ended up being over half an hour long, and I'm not going to make an hour-long video ranting about how to make a character. So it's a 2-part series now, hopefully not 3 parts. So, let's get right into it. So, the first thing we're going to talk about in this episode is Step 3, Combat. So this is going to be the basic area of your character, and right about the middle, that's going to list everything that your character can do in combat. Well, most of it. It's going to list your armor, how quickly you go in combat, how fast you can go, how many hits you can take, what different attacks you can activate, and all around just your equipment in general. So I've gone and filled out the equipment. To pick your equipment when you go to choose your class, first off your background gives you some things, and then your class gives you some things. For class, you get a list of things to pick from. First off, for druids at least, you can choose a wooden shield or a simple weapon. So there's a difference between simple and martial weapons. Simple weapons don't require much skill to use, martial weapons require lots of skill. And certain classes can use certain ones, along with certain races gain built-in usage into them. So I could choose a simple weapon or a wooden shield. I took the wooden shield. Next up, I could take a scimitar or any simple weapon. I took the scimitar. And then we just got leather, and then after that, no choices. We got leather armor, explorer's pack, which contains a bunch of different traveling gear that I'm not going to take the time to write all of it out. Things like bedrolls, ropes, basic rations, tinder boxes, that sort of stuff. And then I also got a druidic focus, which is this item that I can use to cast spells through. And I chose funny moss. A weird piece of strange smelling moss. My character just likes it, and it's going to cast his spells through it. Pretty much certain spells require a material. For example, Fireball, funnily enough, requires a pile of bat poo. You heard me right, Fireball requires bat poo. So, pretty much a druidic focus, if you have one, or arcane focus, or divine focus, I think that's what it's called, for other classes. If you have one, it replaces the material component as long as the material component is not spent. For example, regeneration, or is it resurrection? One of those spells requires a very expensive diamond. The diamond's spent. The diamond gets destroyed after you use it, so you're not going to be able to use your funny moss to cast that spell with. So, yeah, that's the point of funny moss. Then, from the background, I get a staff, a bear trap, a trophy from an animal I've killed, to fit with my storyline of being a demon hater, where I just hate demons and I've hunted them. I have a Bulezau skull. Correct me in the comments if I'm saying that wrong. It's the skull of this strange, diseased goat demon. And I just carry it around like, hey, I killed this. Then I also have traveler's clothes and a pouch with 10 gold pieces. Next up is your attacks and spellcasting. These are the innate basic spells along with weapons that you just have on hand that you can pull out at any minute and start stabbing things or shooting things. So, right now I just have my scimitar. There's 3 different components of this. There's the name, the attack bonus, and the damage slash type. There's not a slash there. Slash type. That's a long slash. So, I wrote scimitar. Next up is your attack bonus. This is the number you roll. When you pick up yourself a d20 and you go to roll it, you then add your attack bonus to see if you surpass the armor class of your opponent. I'll get to armor class in a minute. Pretty much armor class is just how hard it is to hit you with a combined numbers of how easy you can dodge, how easy you can throw up a shield, or how hard your armor slash hide is. So, pretty much when I roll a d20, I add my attack bonus, and if I'm equal to or higher than my opponent's armor class, then I successfully hit them, stab them, shoot them, whatever I'm doing. So, for a scimitar, I have proficiency bonus because I'm proficient with it, and then I also add my dexterity or strength, because it's a finesse weapon which allows me to add dexterity or strength, whichever I'm best at. I'm best at dexterity, giving me a +2 due to my score, so I'm going to choose dexterity, and as such, I have a +4 to this. So whenever I go to stab something or slash something with my scimitar, I am going to roll a d20 and then add 4. Then there's the actual damage and type. The damage of a scimitar is a d4 plus my dexterity. Now, when using a finesse weapon, you're going to have to choose one or the other. When you declare you're attacking, you choose strength or dex, and you have to go with it. So, since I chose dex, I'm also adding my dex to my damage. And the damage is a d6 plus 2 for my dex, and it's slashing damage. So there you go. There's a bunch of different damage types, things like slashing, smashing, stabbing, stab, burning, freezing, no, it's cold, not freezing, and not burning, it's fire. Poison, acid, psychic, force, there's a bunch of different damage types, but slashing is one of the most basic ones because you're just slashing something with a sword. And then we have your hit points. Now, level 1, you have a set amount of hit points equal to the maximum roll of your hit die plus your constitution. I have a plus 3 in my constitution, and my hit die is a d8 here. I wouldn't be rolling this on my first level. I'm just going to take the 8 and add 3, giving me 11 maximum hit points and 11 current hit points. Solid number to be starting with. The absolute highest number you could be starting with is a 17, and the fact that I have 11 is pretty good, especially for a druid which doesn't have the most HP in the game. So how do I explain it? Pretty much, at once you reach level 2 and beyond, whenever you level up as it is, in other words, reaching enough XP points by killing things, completing quests and such, you take your dice, this d8 here, and you roll it. And then you add your constitution to it. Then you take that number and add it to your current maximum, and then your current, and you get your new current, and your new current maximum. That's how leveling up works as far as HP goes. There's also temporary hit points, which are magically or artificially granted hit points, where, let's say I have a spell on myself that gives me 2d8 hit points. I don't know if that exists. 2d8 temporary hit points, and I roll a 4. Then one of my friends hits me with the spell again, and they say they can give me 7. I don't stack them, I choose. So I'm obviously going to take the 7, and I put that in there, but temporary hit points are very situational, and certain spells, they just disappear after a while. And finally, we got armor class, initiative, and speed. Armor class is how hard you are to hit. So I have a wooden shield, a set of leather armor, and my dexterity. Leather armor gives me an 11 plus my dexterity, and my dexterity is a plus 2, bringing me to a 13 armor class with just my leather armor on. Then I also have my shield. Wooden shields give me a plus 2 to my dexterity because I can block things. Not to my dexterity, to my armor class. So in total I have a 15 in my armor class. Then there's initiative. That's how fast you go in combat. In other words, how quickly you react or respond or start doing things. Pretty much when you enter combat, you take a d20, you roll it, and then after rolling it, you add your initiative bonus, and whoever rolls the highest goes first, whoever rolls the lowest goes last. It's that simple. There's a plus 2 to my dexterity, and your initiative is equal to your dex bonus, and almost never is there an actual other bonus added unless you have special abilities. That's that. On a side note on initiative, for DMs out there who have ties on initiative, I recommend having players go before enemies, and also if you have players that are tied, take character names, the actual names they've given to their characters, and organize them in alphabetical order. For example, let's say Jimmy the Orc and Brian the Badgerfolk, if you do homebrew, they both roll 14. Well, Brian the Badgerfolk is going to go first, Jimmy the Orc is going to go after. Finally, you have speed. That's chosen by your race and can be altered by class and other abilities. Speed for gnomes is a 25 foot speed. In combat, you're going to get a total of 4 different things you can do. You have a main action, which consists of things like casting a spell, or hitting someone with an attack, or interacting with an object, like picking up a pencil, all manner of different things. Then you have your bonus action, which is a special ability you can activate on the side, which are little side things that sometimes your race gives you a bonus action, sometimes your class gives you a bonus action. There's a bunch of different things. Your reaction is something that, if specifically stated, you can do in response to someone trying to do something to you while it's their turn. And finally, you have your movement action, which during your time that you're doing your main action and possibly a bonus action, you have a movement action in which you can move up to your movement. So my character can move 25 feet due to the fact that they're a gnome and they got short legs. Humans and most races can move 30, but smaller races like halflings and gnomes can only move 25. So there you have it. That's the basics of combat. Let's move on to the next step, which is fill in the blanks. And I broke my chalk. Okay, so now we're on to step 4. Step 4 is what I like to call filling in the blanks. It takes place on this section of the corner sheet titled Features and Traits, and this section of the secondary sheet titled Additional Features and Traits. This little box here. And these spots, you're going to mark down the traits that your race and your class gives you. Eventually at higher levels, you're probably going to need an extra blank sheet of paper to just start writing these down. So that's what I would recommend. Go get another piece of scratch paper once you get to that point where you've run out of space and you need more areas to write down your abilities. But for now, 2 sheets should do fine. So what abilities would I be writing here? For example, druids can cast spells. So I'd write down spell casting, and then I'd go to my drop the character sheet. I'd go drop the character sheet. So then I'd get my spellcasting sheet, and I would figure out my spellcasting ability, my spell save DC, my spell attack bonus. Don't worry, spells are a whole different thing. I will be explaining how to do spells in another video because there's just too much to fit into one video. And then I also record all the spells I have. Yeah. So those are the basic abilities that you're going to record down. And that's the basics of fill in the blanks. You're just filling in the blanks. You're going to your sources, you're flipping open your computer or your book, and you're reading through, and you're scribbling down notes. If you really want to, you can go write out the entire thing, but I'd recommend just going, okay, cool. And then boom, that's it. And finally, there is personality and backstory. Personality and backstory is the 5th step in which you start to flesh out who your character is. Who are they? What makes them be who they be? And what they do? And all that. What makes them the way they currently are? First off, you're going to want to start in this area, this 4-section part above features and traits. This consists of your personality traits, your ideals, your bonds, and your flaws. You get a little bit of space to write about these 4 topics. Personality traits are things like just basic 1 words, anger, bravery, and then maybe a quick blurb about what they mean to your character. For example, let's say personality trait is bravery for my character. Bravery, it means that my character is going to rush into battle whenever he sees a demon. With the possibility that it's the demon who killed his parents, he will rush into battle without thought to slaughter it. And then at the same time, he may have the personality trait hatred. My character possesses an extreme hatred for any demon he comes across. Then, ideals. Ideals are specific thoughts. Like, they're personality traits, but more in-depth, more emotional. They're things that your character strongly believes in. Things that your character will uphold to their death. My character's ideals may be nature. He loves the natural world and believes that it's his ultimate weapon in avenging his family. At the same time, another one of his ideals may be death to all demons. Pretty self-explanatory. Finally, there's bonds. Bonds are someone or some place that you're connected to. For example, a bond of Grimsby may be that he's connected to his home, or the burned ruins of it. Another bond may be the Balor that slaughtered his parents right in front of his face. Bonds don't have to be necessarily good people you're connected to. And finally, there's flaws. Flaws are problems that your character has, something they suffer from, something that adds character. You can always make it something basic like, oh, I'm clumsy, or oh, I'm nosy, I get into things. While those can be interesting sometimes, they're just blatant excuses for giving your character almost no flaws. I mean, come on. The reason that characters, I'm going to look at Star Wars for a second, the reason that characters like Han Solo and the battle droids are so endearing is the fact that battle droids always say Roger, Roger, and would repeatedly give themselves away to clone troopers when they were attempting to mimic them. In that one specific episode of the Clone Wars that I can't remember the name of. And then Han Solo. Han Solo, in the scene where he attempts to imitate a stormtrooper over the radio, is immediately, everyone goes, oh no, that's not a stormtrooper, something's going on wrong. So, those flaws make those characters interesting. So, you can do something basic like, I'm clumsy, but that's almost never going to come up. Whereas, for example, his hatred for demons has translated into an extreme racism towards tieflings. He doesn't fully understand them and sees them as products of abyssal and infernal creation. He sees that while he may not have been directly infected by the infernal plague of devil kind, he recognizes that the reason that demons are invading are because of devils. Devils have a part to play in the constant conflict between them and demons, and as such he has hatred for both sides. And that reflects into his hatred for tieflings, extreme racism towards them. That could create some interesting interplayer conflict if there's a tiefling or a warlock who serves a fiend in the party. Interplayer conflict is always fun, just don't have it ruin actual real-life relationships. Remember, above all, this is a game designed for fun and kicking back. So, that was my second video on my guide to how to make a character in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. If you watched it all the way through, that possibly means you enjoyed. And if you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, sharing with a couple friends, and commenting what you want to see in the future. Also commenting if I pronounced Bulezau. Comment if I pronounce Bulezau, as in the demon skull that my character carries around, incorrectly. Yeah. So, above all, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for any support you give to the channel. This has been Max from Maximus Miniature, and I'll see you guys next time in our next video.